my fault. I mean, I guess where would you like me to start? I can talk.
What do you need to start?
Oh, I mean,
what did you
social
have
media
when you
is one of
first
those
started?
things where it's so vast and so big, and you could talk about it for days on end and never even touch the surface. And one of the most common things I've heard is that I wish I could do that, and I wish I had that skill, which is always a very interesting thing, because when you speak to a lot of YouTubers, none of them ever remember having those skills to start off with. But that's how everyone starts off. Nobody starts off being good at anything. We all start off being rubbish at things. That's just the natural progression of skills. And I think a lot of the time when you're wanting to start, you just need to accept that you're not going to be perfect straight off the bat. So, and I think that's, you know, one of the main things is that if you are sat there and you are thinking, I'd love to be able to do that, but I don't have the skills, I don't have the, you know, even like the know-how, no one does. You just have to keep going and just trust the process and trust that you do get better. Yeah.
So what do you need to start if you're thinking, right, I'm going on a trip at the weekend, I want to make a YouTube video?
Whatever you own is where you start. If you own a GoPro, if you own a phone, if you own a camera from the 60s, it doesn't matter what you use. Whatever you own now is what you use. You'll always see a lot of like videos online, and you'll see blog posts and telling people you need X camera, you need Y, you need to go out and spend thousands. It's like, no, don't do that. And something they don't tell you as well, there is nothing worse in the world than being out on your bike, stood in the rain, trying to pull out an SLR. Like, this is something no one ever says. It is the worst thing in the world. Like, it is horrific.
The worst thing in the world.
It is the worst thing in the world, because you're there.
We need to put you in the desert.
It's raining. You'll be raining, it's kind of, you're like trying to get your tripod going, the wind's like blowing it over, because they blow over so easy. And then like, I'll get my camera, I'll get one of those flexi tripods, I'll attach it to a rock, 10 seconds I'm ready to film, and then I can quickly get my gear back on and dry again, but they're so impractical.
Yeah. Okay, so what tips would you give someone in actually thinking, right, I want to start a YouTube channel, I've got my camera and my equipment, what next?
Get going. Whatever you're doing, like wherever you like to spend your time is where you should make videos the most. If you're into DIY, if you're into mechanics, make videos around that. Wherever you spend your time. If you like to travel a lot, make videos there. You know, whatever, however you're spending your time. And it can be very easy to be like, right, I've got my camera, I've got my microphone, I'm gonna go to Poland tomorrow, I'm gonna start, you know, filming a massive adventure. And then it's just like, there's so much organization involved with that. And you're like, well, if you're doing all of this other stuff every day, why not start with the stuff you're doing naturally? Because then it becomes less of an effort to plan, you start getting into a rhythm, you start to develop the skills you need to keep progressing. You don't need to go out there and do anything particularly incredible. And realistically, guys, let's be honest about my channel. The vast majority of my videos, I feel like I'm not doing anything particularly impressive. I'm not traveling the world. I'm not doing some crazy adventures. I don't do some amazing, like I don't particularly have any skill or talent. I'm just a regular person who goes to Wales and just falls off her bike frequently. And
that sounds pretty entertaining.
But you don't need to do impressive things. You just need to hit record. That's it. And whatever you're doing is enough. And when I first, you know, started to be a bit more serious about my channel, I had a lot of people saying, you know, it's all in the planning. You know, plan everything out before you go and do that. If you go to a show, plan it out. And there's definitely a lot of truth to that, and I often see that the quality of the videos tend to be more fun to watch when there's planning, but I think you need to have a balance, because if you plan too much, you miss out on opportunities. If you have a rigid route, you miss out on so many amazing things that happen naturally, because no matter what you do or where you go, there is always adventure. And if you're so focused on this path that you need to go and ignoring everything around, you know, this incredible thing could happen and you're like, no, I need to get to point B. So there needs to be like a balance. You can plan, but you also kind of need to go with the moment, you know, do both.
Yeah. So, I'm reckoning someone in the audience might have some questions. Does anyone have any questions? I'm going to roam around with the mic.
And wants to build a YouTube channel. My background is television and video, so he's leaning heavily on me to do all the techie stuff. And he's asking me questions that I can't answer, which is about building a YouTube channel, as in followers and just getting traction.
But I think it's very difficult, especially if he's coming to you for advice, because television and YouTube are very different. Television, you will spend hours making the most beautiful, scenic shots. You'll be doing all the color grading, and you'll be redoing things over and over again. And when it comes to YouTube, you can't do that. You need to put out what you have, regardless of the quality. And quite often people don't expect high-end quality from a YouTube video. It's very rare that they do, unless they're like a full production. But what I would just say to him is, when it comes to YouTube, it's very hard to predict whether a video is going to do well or not. There have been videos where I have put weeks and weeks into effort, and spent so much time editing them, and they're some of my favorite videos, and they have not performed well. And then there'll be videos where I basically just didn't have something to put out Sunday evening, and I'll rush around and throw something together, and then the next thing I know, it's like, boom, 100,000 views, and I'm like, because I put so much effort into this one video and it did terrible, and then I put no effort into this other one and it did fantastic. And sometimes you just can't control that. You have to focus on what you can control, and what you can control is the frequency that you put out videos. And you also have to balance that around your own time. If you think it's very likely to be the case that you cannot do a video every week, when you think, well, when can I do it? Can I do it every 2 weeks? Can I do it every month? But as long as you have that pattern, that's more important, because eventually the people that do follow you, they come to expect that. And what happens is YouTube also comes to expect that. So we know that this person is going to put out a video on this particular date, we'll push it more. And then basically what they do is they'll take that video, they show it in front of a bunch of people who have never seen your channel, and they wait to see if they watch it. And that's how they determine how much they're going to push a video. So if they take this little video and they say, we're going to show it to these 10 people, if all 10 people that click on that video and watch it, they're like, right, we know this is a popular video, let's show it to 1,000 people over here, see how it does. And then if that again performs well, that's how it starts to blow up. But it's a bit hit and miss, because sometimes they can show it to these 10 people, and these 10 people, it might just not be the right day, it might be the time, they might not have the time to watch the full video. And it's a bit of a gamble, because you never know the test group that YouTube shows it to, whether it's going to boost it or hold it back. And you can't control that, but what you can control is just putting out content frequently and just keeping with kind of like a format to go. I think as well, something that's probably worth saying is, it depends on how we're going to be measuring success. And it's just like, is your end goal to be a giant YouTuber, or is your end goal to kind of enjoy yourself and have fun? Because when I started producing videos, as you guys probably know, I have a terrible memory. And the reason I started to produce videos was more for myself, because I could watch these back and, laugh at myself and said, and I never thought about making them for other people. I very much made them for myself, and I thought, if I ever have grandkids, this is something I can subject them to. And that's how it started. And at no point, I know I say this quite frequently, I've never intended for YouTube to be a full-time job. I have no intention of it ever becoming a full-time job. And my measurement of success isn't the growth of the channel. It's not how much money I make, how big I get. It's always been about a work-life balance. And I think it's very easy when it comes to social media to kind of enter the door, look around and be like, wow, look at all these really famous people, I want to be like that. I'm like, but do you? The amount of effort you put into it, it's a really hard game. It's a lot of hard work, guys. And if that's what you really, really want, keep going at it and you will get there. But think about whether it is something you really want. Because for me, having a work-life balance and enjoying my hobby in a way that I can share it with other people, that for me is like my measurement of success.
This one was completely my fault.